Going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and who do I got with me here?
Paranoid Coder, like always.
And Paranoid Coder, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
That's awesome. That is awesome that you're doing good. I'm doing good as well. I'm just gonna assume that you asked me that you wanted to know. But so, did you want to know or not? That's gonna be the question here.
Always, man.
Okay. Well, cool. You know, we're good at that. So, yeah. Anyways, how's everything been for you?
It's been good. It's been busy. I took a vacation to California.
How was that?
It was awesome. It was relaxing. It was a much-needed break from, work, the daily everything. I even was in an area where I was staying where I had, no cell service.
Mm-hmm.
So much of the time, I just didn't really have internet access. So it was actually kind of a forced unplug, but it was good.
That's really awesome.
I was around family and, everything I needed. So...
Sounds good. It's always interesting to see how much we need to pull back and get that break, because I personally didn't have my first day off from work, my own sanctioned day off from work until several weeks ago. And I was looking forward to it so bad. And then once I had it, it's funny. I was planning to I pretty much said, if I can play Devil May Cry 5 for 3 hours a day, I'm good. I failed at that completely. I didn't sleep in. I woke up early. I went outside. I did a ton of stuff, but I did what I wanted to do that day, and it was so refreshing.
Yeah, honestly, these days, as I've gotten older, my days off and stuff like that are usually filled with being productive. I like, obviously, to jack around, play video games, stuff like that. But there's a part of me that, as I've gotten older, sometimes the anxiety of knowing that I have a lot to do supersedes that.
Oh, hell yeah.
And doing chores feels good.
Yeah.
It's like that natural high.
It's just kind of a thing of all this stuff needs to get done, so let's clear it off. Oh, great. This is all off my plate. Fantastic.
Right.
So, yeah. No, I feel that.
So what have you been up to this past month as far as modding goes? Have you got anything done?
I did get some things done. Now, I ended up getting some stuff done that we're going to be talking about, so I want to do something a little bit different. The stuff that I ended up doing that we're going to be covering, I'm not going to cover here in this segment. This is a new segment we introduced 2 months ago, where we just kind of talk about, what we did modding on the side and all that. But I do want to talk about the one thing I did do, which we're not covering on this episode in terms of news, but we have covered it before. Devin, do you know what this is?
That's a DSi XL.
This is a DSi. Do people know what I might be talking about with the DSi?
I definitely do.
It's something that we talked about several months ago on ModChat. This DSi now has custom firmware on it thanks to the boot ROM exploit that was released. I don't even remember when it was released, but at this point now you can actually install custom firmware on your DSi. You need to do it through Flipnote Studio. There's a little exploitation type jig that you can do.
And I think that's the overflow. It's kind of some kind of an overflow
kind of
exploit
sort of
where the data is way too large, the note data.
Yeah.
If you import the note data, it's way too large, has some kind of buffer overflow.
That would make sense because you're essentially going in. There's 2 images that are there, and you go in and you copy one and you're pasting it to another. I'm overly simplifying this, but when you do it, it ends up bugging out, and then you're able to run unsigned code.
Right.
And from there, you're able to modify it, dump your NAND, all that other fun stuff. So it's a real good time. But yeah, I've played around with flashcards quite a bit with DSs, DSIs. I actually bought this from GameStop for $40 3 years ago when they were clearancing them out. And now they're not clearancing them out, so I don't know why they did that. But it was on 1.4. I didn't know if you could do any sort of modifications on it aside from flashcards, so just on instinct, I did not update it, and then I've kind of just been waiting for custom firmware. I used the official guide for it as well. I will say the guide's not perfect. There were about 3 or 4 issues I ran into, and every single one I was able to solve within 5 or 10 minutes of Googling. But in the end, I do have Haya custom firmware on here with Twilight Menu.
Very nice.
So essentially, I can kind of show the audience here, for example, I have mine option, so if I hold down the A button and start it up, that's how it's looking now.
Sweet.
So yeah, nice little instant boot ROM bug and everything on there, so I can access all the stuff here, and then I'll even show you Twilight Menu, or I can just reboot the damn thing. But I have it so just by default boots up here, and this essentially the system NAND is now loading off of the SD card, so kind of the equivalent of an emu NAND. And that's all off the SD card right there, and I can load up all of my DS games and everything through that.
Very cool.
Yeah, if you load up the Game Boy Advance BIOS on here, which I did, you can also play Game Boy Advance games, although I didn't have very good luck with that. So,
Really?
yeah. But, yeah, no, I mean, it looks nice and everything, and then I can even go, like, right here, and it's all a little bit slow, admittedly.
Yeah, I mean, DS.
Yeah, because I'm also
much
using, like, a
power.
jank. I'm using, like, some old... absolutely like no frills SD card. Look, it's just saying no, now loading. Like it's not even, it's taking its sweet time. This is supposed to be cooler, but it's just a little slow. But oh well, I do want to get a bigger SD card and then load this up properly and do a few other good things on it. The downside with this is because of the limitations of the DSi itself. You can run Haya custom firmware with no issues on 2 GB cards and lower. Once you get bigger than that, you have to essentially manually change around a few files and install Twilight menu on it. Yeah, and it's just
kind of jank.
Yeah, and it's just a limitation of the DSi itself, unfortunately. But that is what I did. I did 2 other things that we're going to be addressing. 2 or 3 other things, actually. But I'm going to save those for the show. But this is the only thing that I did that was not related to the show that we're going to be covering. So, yeah, DSi custom firmware, I have it. If you have Flipnote Studio on your system, it's not bad to do. So, I'd recommend checking it out. We do have... I think we should also shout this out as well, too. Modern Vintage Gamer coming through already with a donation here. $10 donation, hashtag Mr. Mario 100K hype. Let's make it happen. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And again, donations are never neat on here, but they're always appreciated, and they definitely go towards helping out the show and everything.
Huge friend of the show. Definitely. How close are you? Where are you at on that?
Oh, I think right now, I'm probably about 700 subscribers away.
Oh, wow. That is really freaking close. I don't know how many you gain on a daily basis, but it seems like that could happen at any time.
Yeah. I'm thinking probably within the next 2 weeks. It should
Very
definitely
cool.
be attainable with
Nice.
how big it's going up. Another donation here from Tristan, as always, $2. Let's get this party started. Thank you again for that $2 donation. So.
Yes. Is this Tristan? Is he the one that is traditional?
Yes.
With his
yeah,
$2?
him and Katsu, they always do the $2 donations.
Yeah,
So.
and friend of the show, mod of the show.
Hell yeah.
He's definitely does a good job as a mod in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's much appreciated.
Always.
Very cool, man.
Always,
Way to start the show off.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Now, anyways, I'm gonna bounce this back at you, Devin. What have you done modding related? Because I know you're just kind of hiding something underneath the table that you're dying to show everyone.
Sure. So while you were kind of talking about that, just to save myself some time of booting into what I'm talking about here, I kind of jigged up my Switch here and I got it booted up into I guess the project is called L4T, but it's really Linux for Tegra running Ubuntu. So for the people that are watching the video, I've got it kind of pulled up here. It might be a little hard to see.
No, I can see it. Yeah, you can tell it's Ubuntu.
Right. So this is the Unity desktop. Actually, it's kind of interesting. So I went and checked. It's kind of neat because I can pull it up here. Overall impressions, first of all, performance is like a bit better than what I would have expected.
Okay. What all have you done with it?
Really just kind of a little bit of browsing, a little bit of stuff. And it might have even just encountered a bug that is actually a known thing where the touchscreen kind of locks up.
Oh, and you were just showing me how well the touchscreen worked before this. Come on,
it's
man.
Kind of hilarious.
I'm not blaming you for it.
So I might actually be hung up here as far as showing something on the video goes. But it's pretty cool. It's a full-fledged desktop environment. It's got all the normal stuff that you would expect to come with Ubuntu. It's running Ubuntu 18.04, which is the current LTS version. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of neat. One thing that I did find was interesting is that they swapped out the desktop environment. So up until, as far as LTSs go, up until 18.04, Canonical, who's the company behind Ubuntu, their in-house Unity desktop was the standard default desktop with Ubuntu. And then starting with 18.04, they swapped it out for GNOME.
Okay.
Or GNOME, depending on your preference.
I see GNOME.
Yeah. So looks like this person went with Unity for whatever reason. I didn't see an explanation why. It could be for like performance reasons. I'm not really sure. I know that GNOME has had a lot of performance improvements over the last release or so, but it's known to be a little bit buggy and it kind of consumes more RAM over time. So I don't know. Maybe that was a reason. overall, it's kind of cool. There's an on-screen keyboard, so you can navigate
How
stuff.
well does that keyboard work?
Yeah,
we were talking about that. I'm still confused on it.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems to work all right. In a lot of scenarios, it pops right up, and it kind of looks like, I wish I could show you guys, because it looks like a little Android keyboard. While I'm talking about this, I may actually try and,
Yeah.
it's not locked up. It's literally just the touchscreen. So you can hear the volume indicator.
Move it. Do it again. I'm not hearing it.
There we go. So I don't know. I'll try and reboot it real quick. But the keyboard looks like a little Android keyboard. It's kind of interesting. I'm sure it's not, considering this is Linux, and I don't think as far as I know, the Android keyboard is not just easily runnable on Linux. But it does pop up in a lot of scenarios. I wasn't able to get it to pop up in the web browser, which was kind of ironic.
You couldn't get the keyboard you're saying to pop up in the web browser.
Right.
Okay. And that's a known issue, is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know the keyboard has...
I did see... I was telling you, I saw the video Aesthetics did on it, and he was complaining about the keyboard in his installation video.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, from what I experienced, it does not seem uncommon. I mean, like... It's one of those things where it's like you click into a text field, the keyboard doesn't come up, you click out, you click back in, the keyboard comes up. Couldn't get it to work on the web browser. A couple things that are cool about this is that the dock does work. I haven't given this a try. I kind of want to. So you could dock it and then plug in a keyboard and mouse if you wanted to, which does, pose some interesting use cases where you can take this on a go. If you can navigate it without a keyboard and mouse, I mean, it's kind of cool. And you could take it to work or whatever, pop it in, and use it as a full-fledged computer, really. You might have some software limitations because this is an ARM version of Ubuntu, but yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it could work pretty well. So I'll probably be playing around with this a little bit more, but it could use a little bit of work.
Right on.
But not complaining. And the last thing before we kind of get off here, let's even see here. I got it rebooted now, so let's see if I can get the kind of settings menu pulled up. So you can see here on the camera, hopefully, if it'll... Might be a little washed
kinda.
out.
It's fine. It's working.
But it does say Ubuntu 18.04, memory 3.4 gigs of RAM, processor ARM v8, graphics Tegra, 64-bit OS, etc., etc.
Right on.
So it's pretty cool. I mean, it works. I'll be playing around with it a little bit more. But yeah, I'm not that many bugs for a first release. Probably the one most disruptive thing is that it's got no sleep support. So
right on.
You turn it off and on.
Right on.
But yeah, I don't know if you have any other kind of questions around it or anything you want me to hit home on it.
No. I mean, I guess one thing I wanted to know is how long did it take you to install that?
So basically, there was an image that you downloaded, right?
Sure.
A .image file.
And then you just install it through Etcher or something?
Yep, I use Etcher. I've been using Etcher for a long time to make installable flash drives for Linux distros and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I used Etcher, and once I did that, I was booted in through Hecate, which after you load the image file, it's got Hecate on it and everything like that. So you don't need to modify the SD card anymore.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah. And
so you need a whole separate SD card, then you can't have it coexist?
Correct. So
okay.
I backed up my SD card, and it's totally dedicated to Ubuntu right now.
No, I've actually heard... I've heard people complain about that, where they've said that you need to have a whole different SD card for the setup. So thanks for confirming that, though.
Yeah, definitely. And I haven't tried modifying any of the files on it or anything like that, or trying to push it to load more. Don't even know if that's possible. I'm guessing it's probably not because of the way the thing is formatted.
Right on.
But it works. Oh, and I guess one more thing: the Joy-Cons do pair. You have to pair them manually.
So do you pair it through the Bluetooth? The Bluetooth? Okay.
Just as if it's a Bluetooth accessory.
I had to do that when we messed around with it on the PS4. I remember that.
So that's cool. It works. It does not work when they're connected, so you have to take them off so they're in Bluetooth mode. And the one thing that disappointed me about that, I haven't tried it with any games, so that'll hopefully be something I do get into, but it doesn't have any mouse support or anything like that. So it seems like without games, it works like plugging in a controller into your PC.
Okay.
Right? It's not going to automatically get mouse support. It's going to be dedicated to games and stuff like that, and that seems to be what these Joy-Cons do as well. So... hopefully we'll have a little bit more news on that. I'm going to try and get my dock set up to be plugged into the TV with keyboard and mouse and stuff.
Let me know how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in seeing that because, I have not messed with that at all. So, yeah. By the way, are you gonna keep it running on your side, or do you need like turn it off or anything?
No, I'm going to. I was thinking about it, trying to think if there was anything else really.
You did say sleep mode is sleep mode's not a thing on there, right?
Right.
You
So if
cannot
you just-
put it in rest.
If you just hit the power button, it's not even really worth demoing, but you hit the power button, doesn't do anything, and it seems like the only way to shut it off, because I can't actually get the power menu to boot or open, and I don't know if that's just because the touchscreen's so small.
Nice.
But it seems like the only way, because they even say on the forum just to hold the power button for 10 seconds and it shuts off.
Okay.
So
Good to know. So just going back to the old school, the proper, the Switch hardware itself, shut off mechanism. So,
but
cool.
I don't know, for somebody who, I can't even say wants a cheap Ubuntu thing, because you could get computers for way cheaper than the Switch. But I mean, it's cool. I think it's worth tinkering around with, and it could probably serve someone's good use case with it being dockable and undockable.
It's a cool thing to do just because.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not like some barely working, broken thing.
And you haven't messed with any emulators or anything on it, have you?
Not yet. I want to
Okay.
get into a little bit. I understand there's probably going to be some performance loss as opposed to running it straight off of the Switch OS.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be worth playing around just to see how the Joy-Cons work and kind of how it holds up.
Sure.
So that's about all I got for now.
Right on. Cool. Well, we do have a couple donations that these came through while we were going on the Linux things. Let's go ahead and tackle those. You got one,
Sure.
already, right?
So X41,
Friend of the show.
good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show. Yeah.
Awesome person. Bleep bloop for €2.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but we appreciate it.
It means bleep bloop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
We're all robots when it comes to
We are.
all this technology.
Bloop, bleepity bloop, So thank you
At
so
least
much for
aspiring
that. Yeah.
robots, man. I want to be a cyborg one day.
Augment my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, be like riding out here. As for another one, we also got a $5 donation from Tag Media saying, oh God, burping. Used your PS3HEN Tut last night, version 2.0.2. Can finally use my USB hard drive on my Super Slim. Many thanks, man. Keep rocking in the free world. And doot doot loot doot.
Dude, dude.
Exactly. We added that very last part there, but thank you, man. That's also much appreciated. And yeah, that is one thing I am looking forward to covering on here. And we have here another $2 donation from XBMC Mods for Xbox. Loving the stream. Keep it up. Thank you for that. Much appreciate that as well, too.
It's a good thing I know what Nardwar is, because I don't think we've ever talked about Nardwar.
No, we have never talked about Nardwar one-on-one.
Yeah.
So.
But no, that could have been much more awkward. I'm guessing that's what his references was, though. That he did say keep rocking in the free world.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So thank you very much, all of you guys who have donated so far. This is a poppin' stream to start with.
Hell yeah.
So in terms of donations and people, there's like a lot of people in
There
here.
are. I don't have the viewership on my screen here, but it's one of those things I kind of don't do that on purpose, because if I see 200 people viewing, I will freaking psych myself out.
Yeah.
And if I see 20 people viewing, I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
So I'll just always pretend that there's only a small amount of people viewing.
Hey,
so
man.
I don't know how many viewers there are right now.
That's the way to be.
Yeah.
It's like Instagram experimenting with not knowing how many people liked a photo.
That's what's happening in
know.
that's what's happening in Canada right now.
Yeah.
If you're using Instagram in Canada, there's they hid the public likes on there. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, kind of like this month in modding. No, do you have anything else before we wrap up this little
No,
segment?
that's it. That's about what we did. So let's go ahead and get into the topics we have.
Yeah. Let's see. I know you're probably a little bit more passionate about this one.
Just a little bit.
Do you want to take the first one?
I certainly don't mind.
All right, go for it, man.
Cool. So let's get into this first topic here, which many people have been shouting out already. But this is PS3HEN, and this is just one of the many, many updates for it on PSX Place. But Devin, do you know, you've seen that we've covered, PS3 exploits, tools, HEN, and all that. We've covered this stuff together. Do you know all too much about HEN?
Well, in this context or just in general?
I guess in general.
So yeah, I mean, homebrew enabler is typically what it stands for.
Exactly.
So usually not like full control, usually not full custom firmware. It seems like that applies here just all the same.
That is directly on point with this, yeah. So in short, right here, this has at least been updated by the PS3 exploit guys there. But I know that this was initially released anonymously, I want to say, and it was open source and everything. But PS3HEN was created and built and released for all PS3s running 4.84 HFW, which have HEN installed on them. So you have to have HEN 4.84 already installed on your PS3, and then you install HEN, and the cool thing is, then you have a homebrew enabler. So at that point, you're able to, for the first time on Super Slims, for example, you can run homebrew on every single model of PS3. And right now, to date, every single PS3. Because the latest firmware is exploitable right now. So if you have a 3000 model series Slim or a 2500 series, which is higher than 3.56 on Minver, or you have a Super Slim, definitely give this a shot. It is awesome. It works super well. And it does an excellent job bridging the gap between, between HEN and custom firmware. It is not a custom firmware by any means, so do not get that twisted. It's not a jailbreak. However, it does have a lot of really awesome stuff here. So for example, the basic stuff is it allows you to run homebrew on here for the first time, but many different things that were in the recent changelog. So now, for example, there's wrap activation on the fly. There's C00 unlocking capabilities on here as well. For anyone that doesn't know, that means that in short, as opposed to getting a license file, getting a package file, re-signing them to your system and installing them through HEN, you can now just install the package files as is, and then you can run the licenser, and this will essentially do what React PSN does for custom firmware systems. Compatibility is a bit limited. So anything that you're doing through like running games through multiman, certain modification tools, you cannot convert it to a DEX system like a debugger developer system, for example. But many other things like booting up games through Irisman, Multiman, several others, you're going to have some limitations there. So games that do work on custom firmware might not work very well, or if at all, on HEN. There's going to be other limitations as well too. Like I know now you can use PS3 ISOs on there, but I believe people are still having issues with PS1 and PS2 ISOs. But there's tons of fixes on here. It's constantly evolving, constantly improving. This is awesome. Like I've been using it a good amount. It's awesome. It's really exciting to get into. There's just tons of stuff that's here. So if you have a Super Slim especially, you are really doing yourself a disservice if you are not using this.
Right. Now, are there any there's no downgrades currently available, right?
No.
To get you down to a firmware where it is custom firmware capable.
Absolutely not. The only way you're able to do that is if you have a minimum system version. If your console came on a firmware 3.56 or lower from the factory, you can install custom firmware on it. But afterwards, they end up changing some stuff, which people a lot smarter than me can tell you exactly what they changed. But they changed some stuff to the point where you cannot run custom firmware because essentially you still need that dependency on 3.55. So,
well, it's pretty sweet.
It is. Yeah, it's fantastic. So
Especially, it's always nice to get something like this out for pretty much every console.
Yes.
That's on the market.
Yeah. So even so, like I've been definitely recommending this here, and even so, I will say that if you have the option, it is better to have a custom firmware system. But if you only have a Super Slim, you cannot get a hold of another system, and you have HEN on it, install HEN, and it's going to cover pretty much everything you're going to want to do with a custom firmware system. And for people who want to really fully utilize a custom firmware system, those are going to be more power users.
Yeah, I'd say so. And even this, you would probably know better than I, but it seemed like this actually had a surprising amount of features that you would expect to be featured in a custom firmware. It doesn't have everything, but it does have more than perhaps your average homebrew enabler.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah, it is just packed to the brim. It's insane.
Right.
So,
Very cool.
Very cool.
Should we address this donation real quick?
Yes, we should.
Cool. So
you want to grab it?
Sure. Tag Media said for a $5 donation, which again, he's asking a question here, not necessary. We're happy to take your questions and stuff like that, but there's also a Q&A section at the end where you can get your question in without dropping some dollars. But we appreciate the dollars.
We do.
So Tag Media says, what do you think about the anon dev behind HEN? I think it was created by someone who programmed for a studio or was close to Sony. I'm not familiar with this anonymous developer.
Yeah, so HEN was released anonymously originally, like as I mentioned, but it was released as open source, so that's how it's been maintained. I don't know why it would have been released anonymously. I don't know about that. Yeah, and it's kind of just gone under the rug, where there's been a few times where it's just been listed like, hey, we are not working on this, like PS3 exploit team. They're just kind of like, hey, this is an anonymous release. This was just put out there anonymously. Everyone who's covered it has said anonymous release, and it just dropped out of nowhere. As to why nobody would want to claim credit for it, I'm not sure. And I feel like it would probably be someone who had to be really knowledgeable in the scene with it.
I mean, I could think of one reason. Next exploit win. You know, if no one knows who you are, you're not going to be hounded. You don't have to deal with any of the publicity or anything dealing with the negative side of this, right? Most of these people are putting this out there for the love of doing it, for the love of the community anyway. They're not looking for fame or money, really. Maybe some are, but a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people seem to really like regress in their just kind of like keeping up with things and kind of having the drive to keep going because of the negative side of, you know, that subtle fame that comes
we
with
covered
it.
that with TheFloW, if you remember.
Yeah.
Where he had that issue where he just kind of said like, hey guys, can people just not ask me ETA when on things when I tweet out, whenever I tweet out something that's not related to console hacking, like please just chill on that, please.
And a lot of times these hackers have like multiple things going on, you know what I mean? They probably have multiple interests, you know what I mean? It's like, unless you really kind of set up your social environment to really be able to funnel out a lot of that stuff, if you come out with something really cool that a lot of people are interested in, you could very well be bombarded to the point where you just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
I could very much so see that happening.
It takes the fun out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Whether it's someone from like, you know, inside a studio or whatnot, you know, I don't know, but I think that's probably one logical reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like, I don't think it was anyone from a studio. That'd be really surprising in my opinion. I think it's probably just someone who's really knowledgeable in the PS3 scene who kind of just whipped it up and put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other people, they were some theories where it seemed like one of the common ones, I think. Who was it? I want to actually, X41 was saying this. MVG was saying this as well too. C&Ds and lawyers essentially. So I guess it could be that too.
Yeah.
If it's running anything that could be nefarious on there, or even just if people just don't want to be, if they just don't want to put their name directly on it. So.
And PlayStation in the past Sony has been heavy-handed at times. You know, it seems like as of late, maybe they're holding off a little bit.
They've been pretty lax on the PS4 side, and I feel like I've had this discussion with people. I feel like that's been because the current PS4 exploits, they are offline, they're on outdated firmwares, and Sony's only gone after the people who have been selling pirated goods essentially. And reselling pre-modded pirated systems. They haven't been going after the developers who've been working on this stuff, and even then they've been putting out their stuff as open source, so they're showing they're not using any Sony code. When Sony was going after people with the PS3 before, that was because there was code that was floating out from Sony. There was hidden keys, magic keys, you know, system keys that were getting put out there. So that was something a bit more different. But it seems like hackers and modders and reverse engineers have definitely learned from the PS3 on that. So they've tackled the PS4 a different way. And they're kind of saying, hey, as long as we're really like keeping this offline and we're keeping our code public source, we're not using anything Sony related, it's probably going to be okay.
Well,
because out of the, even, sorry to cut you off, but even if let's say 1 million people mod up their PS4s, 91 million have sold. And those 1 million PS4s aren't going to be getting online anytime soon. So,
yeah, and I think it's nice that because it is open source from the get-go, we have a lot of reassurance that that's, you know, it's not a risky thing to distribute, I think, community-wise.
Sure.
You know, worst case scenario, I guess they could go after the people hosting the stuff if they came down to that. But we know that it's not containing any, like, illegal or copywritten binaries.
But man, I've seen Sony, I've literally seen Sony DMCA before. Like they've DMCA'd just regular retail firmware updates. So even sometimes those are misused.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, I think we're all happy that this is out and available for people. Sounds like it's pretty sweet.
It is.
Don't own a PS3, like many of you probably know. I haven't caught up on that, but this is pretty awesome. I'm happy for everyone.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. Cool. Use it. Seriously, use it.
So, staying in the PlayStation side of things, but
yes,
getting off of the PS3, we actually have some PlayStation Classic.
Yeah, we're covering
news.
That little thing right there. So
now, I think you know, like, a little bit of, like, I guess, not the history, but, like, maybe the, what would you call it? It seems to be almost like a history repeating itself a little.
Kinda, yeah.
But basically,
I guess. We've talked about this before on the show, haven't we?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about it in person at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What we're talking about is the True Blue USB stick for the PlayStation Classic.
Oh my god, this damn thing.
So this is basically somebody who has packaged up Bleem Sync, essentially, which allows you to play some other games on the PlayStation Classic that you can load yourself through the USB drive, and also kind of access some extra settings to be able to tweak some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like DRMified, and it comes loaded with pirated games.
So, I wanted to cover this last topic, like last chat. Last month. I can't even talk properly. I wanted to cover this last month.
This debauchery has got you all confused.
Yeah, I wanted to cover this last month just to talk about how ridiculous it is. And I said, no, you know what? I don't want to shed any light on this. But some new stuff has come to play. So this right here, first of all, I just want to say, I'm not trying to do this to promote it. Nobody buy this shit, okay?
No,
Nobody buy this.
You can get, I mean, I would even say, if you look hard enough, you can literally get every single thing that's on here for free.
Yes.
Maybe not recommended, but you're not paying for really anything here. At the most and at the least, if you're talking about just Bleem Sync, it's out there.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. But this right here, this is the True Blue Mini. And here, it comes in this package. It says, over 100 of your favorite PS1 games, hours of retro fun with your friends, blah, 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 blah. This is the official site it's on. I don't even know if I want to link this down below. I'm not even going to link this in the description, right? I'm not even going to link this here. I don't want to. I really don't. But this comes in 3 different packs, and in short, this is
what
here.
made me crack up the most.
This is the True Blue Mini Fight Pack, 58 of the best PS1 fighting games included. So it has all these games here, and this is, as Devin said, Bleem Sync with games on it, preloaded already.
Yep.
It has the Meth Pack with 101 games on it.
You heard that right, the Meth.
And it has the Crackhead Pack with 101 other games that are on here.
So I get the Fight Pack, but the Meth Pack and the Crackhead, does that even mean anything? Is there even any relevance to that title?
Okay, I think I have kind of a theory on that, and if anybody knows of Gregory Rasputin, who he's in the PS3 scene, he was saying on Twitter that he believes that these names might be kind of poking fun at him, because years ago when he was super against True Blue when they were doing stuff on the PS3, he was essentially calling True Blue users meth heads and crackheads. Yeah. So he feels like they're poking fun at him here with this. Which that could be plausible, but even looking at this, so it essentially, this is how it comes. It has, the box looks nice at least. It has one of these splitters, and then here's the thing. The flash drive, I wanted to say this. This isn't even a good flash drive. No, I got a bunch of these from China. I got like the 512 megabyte variants, but this is like one of the cheapest types of flash drives that you can buy. As you can see, they didn't even brand anything on it. They just put a sticker over it. They just put a sticker. That's it.
It's pretty cheap.
So they didn't even give you a good flash drive.
The sticker isn't even cut well.
Mind you. Yeah, no, you're correct on that. So the reason why I'm sitting here freaking out about this, and I said, because some people might be saying, all right, you know what? What if I just want to go and, oh God, okay, I don't. Let me just get out of this.
What
all right?
have you done?
I don't know, man. I don't even know anymore. Some people might be saying, you know what? If somebody wants to pay for pirated games and whatever, let them. That's their own doing. Because these are cheap as well. They're like $20, $25, right? And even to that point, it's like, I really don't agree with that. It's like, if you're going to pirate something, I think it's silly to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion when it comes down to that. But that's not the worst thing. The reason why I'm bringing this up now, over a month later, is because according to this Reddit thread here, which I'm going to link this, all right, because this is important. But here they were saying TrueBlue installs script to block unknown USB drives except theirs. And this user, let me see, tap and tap, that's it. They said, I feel it's important people know this, so I am posting so users know what they are buying. So fair warning to those who own a TrueBlue stick, I don't. But when Swing Flip was working on the Mod My Classic team, they did a dump of the USB sold by TrueBlue, and it was discovered that the device installs a check for compatible USB devices, theirs, and will shut down if it detects a non-supported device. When it was mentioned in this sub, it does. I wanted to see for myself. I went to go look at the script, and sure enough, it looks like it does. It seems to install something to the internal kernel, so it's permanent unless you have a stock backup to reflash. I haven't seen what it installs myself, so this is just going off the dumped code. Here's the code block if anyone is interested. So on top of that, if you decide to be lazy and you get one of these right here, you're locked to that USB drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep. And so
it's DRMing your system with their USB drive, again, which TrueBlue has been known to do. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm sorry, I'm going to go in on this. I'm worked up now. For anybody that doesn't know, this is the same company where, if they sound familiar, they did this stuff on the PS3 side of things, where they had their TrueBlue firmware, they had TrueBlue USB dongles for the PS3. And what those allowed you to do was, if you were on firmware 3.55, you could install their custom TrueBlue firmware, and then you could play games that required 3.55 firmware or below. Anything higher, you needed to be on a higher firmware, which would, of course, get rid of your jailbreak. And this is before, higher custom firmwares were a thing. So what TrueBlue did is they knew how to decrypt some of these games. So they were decrypting, or I can't even say they, but the point is, there were pirate release groups that were putting out games that required higher firmwares that were decrypted, and you could play them on jailbroken systems. But you could only play them on jailbroken systems if you had the TrueBlue dongle. Mm-hmm. So they were specific TrueBlue dongle releases. So these were games that required higher firmwares that were decrypted and then re-encrypted with TrueBlue firmware, like TrueBlue pirate DRM essentially. So you had to buy this dongle in order to play those games. So this is now, they're just they cut out the middleman completely. They're just giving you the games directly at this point. You don't have to go elsewhere, but you can only use their USB drive.
Well, what?
Fuck this.
So I think there's a couple. It isn't the first time that anyone has seen DRM kind of in like a product like this. And I'll take it back to, like, let's say Gateway on the 3DS. All right. So Gateway, basically, they sold you the little couple of carts that it came with, and essentially they had like a software, well, maybe after like the first release, they had a software only solution, but they made you have the Gateway card to be able to launch it. And it was basically, the card was just a DRM tool to, force you to buy that to use their software. That's kind of dirty, but it is what it is. But this is now not only doing a similar thing, but excluding anyone else. So let's say you buy this, you realize, oh, I want Bleem Sync, just the open source version. I want to go run this myself. You now can't, because this is installed a script that prevents any unknown flash drive from running. So it's not just like locking down their software that may have been already, copied in a way that breaks GPL, but also they're preventing you from in the future doing anything else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the scummiest part, right? And then you throw in the fact that they're giving away pirated games with it, and it just really just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It goes right down the drain.
Look, I'm one of those people, we sit here and our stance is generally, hey, look, we're not wanting to promote piracy. We're not going to promote it on here. If you want to pirate, that's your own thing. We're not going to tell you what to do. Just don't bring it around here, all right? Even with this, it's like, I personally think paid piracy is stupid. Mm-hmm. I think it's stupid to pay for a service like that, to pay to get something pre-done. If you're going to get some for free, god damn it, get it for free.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on that. But when it's coming to this, where it's locking it down, where you're essentially, this is just the PlayStation Classic version of pirate DRM. Yeah, fuck that.
And I did want to point this out. Someone in the chat, Tapin, pointed this out, and I noticed this.
Oh, the thing in the script?
Yeah, so actually the file itself, the name appears to be TrueBlue is the best, fuck the haters.
Yes. Yeah,
Which
let me
just is
bring
even,
it
like,
up on screen
It's
here.
an even worse look. That's like one of those Easter eggs for someone to find,
Yeah.
and they found it.
Yeah, lick
Grab it.
file. It goes in media, and it's True Blue is the best. Fuck the haters.
Yeah, I mean, you could have generated like a UUID for the file name or something like that, or had some generic thing that didn't look too suspicious. But you had to be blunt about it, man.
Yep.
So yeah, I am not promoting this. I think BleemSync is awesome enough. And we talk about stuff like SXOS, which has some benefits, even if they are doing some scummy things. However, this is really this is past the line. You know what I mean?
Fuck that. Again, I'm gonna put the link to the Reddit thread down below in the description to warn people, but I'm not putting the link to their website. All right, I was just showing that to show people what the hell this thing is. But god damn it.
Yeah, don't even give them the network traffic.
No, let me be the dumbass giving them the network traffic.
Right. So yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot more to say on that, but it sucks, and don't give them any money, don't fund them, and hopefully, nature will take its course.
Yeah, let's hope so. We did get another donation from Modern Vintage Gamer saying more rants, please, for $5. It's funny because, like, one of the last times I was talking with MVG, he enjoys it when I get worked up about things because generally, I'm a pretty chill, happy person, everything. But I remember there was like one night we're talking, I kept getting worked up about certain things, and he was like, "Man, I never hear you like go in on anything." So anytime, like, I love the dude, MVG, I love you, big respect. But it was like every time I was about to get into rant mode, he's just like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be good. All right."
Yeah, I don't know if I've had a really good authentic rant on the show yet. We'll have to find something that really ticks me off.
Yeah, we've had disagreements on the show, but yeah, you've never had somewhere you're just like going all in on a rant.
Yeah. Pretty chill.
Yeah.
Anyways, have we beaten that dead horse?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So, moving on to the next Sony console, we have some big news here.
We do.
And we talked about this last ModChat.
We did.
So, do you want to take it off here?
Sure, I'll take this as well. So, in the last ModChat, we got to talk about TheFlow's new, he called this a PS Vita jailbreak. It is supposed to be his third, and he says most likely his final one. It was going to be Trinity, and we talked about, getting the ETA out and everything. Everyone prepare your PSP games, all that stuff. It just required you to download one PSP game or PSP mini game, and it could have even been a demo, and back it up using QCMA and wait. And it was actually supposed to come out, I don't know, around this time, but he ended up releasing it about a week early. So last weekend, we ended up getting Trinity. And I think it might have even been a little bit. No, it was 8 days ago. All right. So here, Trinity is the third public jailbreak for the PS Vita, which supports the latest firmwares 3.69 and 3.70. The exploit chain consists of 3 stages: the MIPS kernel exploit, the PSP emulator escape, and the ARM kernel exploit. So essentially here, you need to have a device on, it's not recommended to do this on a exploitable device if you have something on 3.6 to 3.68 or anything lower. If you're on 3.69, you have to update to 3.70. If you're on 3.70, you can follow along with this.
If you're listening to this right now, right now 3.70 is the latest. So if you're even considering it, I would go ahead and update before another version comes out, and that becomes more difficult.
Yeah, but there is fantastic instructions here on if you're on 3.69, how to update to 3.70. Again, you just get a PSP game, a PSP demo, a PSP mini game, a PSP mini demo, and then essentially it consists of backing it up via QCMA, installing the Trinity exploit to that game. So you have to essentially break the game to exploit it, and then you port it back over to your system, and then from there you're able to launch that game. It will then do all of its magic and everything. It will escape, and then it loads up something called Construct, which what that does is it allows you to download Vita Shell, install Henkaku, reset your TheFloW text file, and all that good stuff. And essentially at that point, you are modified. Now, TheFloW is really saying here that this should really just be a temporary exploit because it is very easy to patch. First of all, if Sony releases a firmware update right now, it is probably going to patch this up. If Sony pulls off all their PSP games right now, it's gone. If we somehow lose PlayStation Network access on a 3.69 to 3.70 system, like that's it. The exploit's gone. You can't exploit it anymore. So that's why you need to at least download the game if you're even thinking of doing that. But then on top of that, if let's say your memory card gets corrupted, you have to format your system, you accidentally delete your game, your exploit is gone. So it has been highly recommended by TheFloW to use the 3.70 exploit. Even though it is stable, it's working and everything, and you can use stuff on there, not everything has been updated to work on 3.70. So he's been recommending use this exploit, get your system modified on 3.70, and then downgrade to 3.60 or 3.65 firmware. You can do it using Modoru. It's quite simple to do. So I did this on a couple systems.
Really?
It works super well. Yeah. It's
cool.
incredibly easy to do. Using the manual method here, I will say, like using the command line and all that can be quite daunting. I mean, it's fun to do, but it can be super daunting to people. But there are several easy 1 or 2 click tools out there for anybody who might be asking, because I have not covered this yet. I will have a video covering this, and I will also have another video covering how to downgrade using Modoru. So those are, I mean, they're already in the works and done. They just need to come out at this point. But yes, they will be coming out. So don't worry, there will be, a video at least here on that. But if you're impatient, you can do it yourself as well too.
Very nice, dude.
But big thank you to TheFloW for releasing that. And it caught me by surprise. Again, he released it it would have been the 6th. It would have been last Monday. So
If I had some extra dollars around, I'd be getting a PS Vita right now.
hell yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Some good stuff.
But yeah, awesome work. TheFloW definitely has not disappointed yet again, and in the past his work has seemed to be extremely professional, so something to jump on right away, I'd say, if you can.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I am seeing, so just one recent thing I know, that one Martini's asking, honestly, do you guys think Sony would even bother with a Vita update at this point? Console is way into its twilight years. My opinion, I personally can see an update coming out.
Yeah.
Because this is, every single PSP game is going to be exploitable here, and it's not like the 3DS, for example, where DSiWare, as long as you have another system that's modded and available, DSiWare transfers are just always going to be a thing on that. This can be patched by Sony. It should be easily enough, I would say. And their system, even though, they've stopped manufacturing it, they're really just sweeping it under the rug, there's still games that are coming out for it. And there's still skeleton support on it, I would say. So Sony does have reasons to patch it.
Yeah, until all the servers are shut down for that thing, anything regarding it, I think that we're in the realm of possibility to get updates on it. I don't see why not. Especially, I don't know if it was actually noted here. You kind of mentioned something, but it seemed like TheFloW indicated that it would be fairly easy to patch. And,
would it not be?
I mean, I would think so.
I really don't know.
But I don't know the technical implementation or anything like that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
I think the funny thing is with it, because previously in the past, so before there were actual Vita modifications, you could access the PSP emulator and you could modify a PSP game to do that, which I had done on one before, but that used to be through specific exploit games. And the way Sony would always fix that is they would just pull the exploit game from purchase, and then they would fix it in a firmware update, and then the next firmware update that comes out, they would put that game back on the store.
Yeah.
So they just took down the game, but this is a vulnerability that hits every single PSP and PSP Mini game.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that Sony will probably drag their feet a little bit. I can see them waiting a few more weeks at minimum to patch this. But certainly we've seen updates with the PS3. We've seen even the PSP, it's been a while. But remember how 3.60 was just, no, not 6.60 on the PSP was just open game for years, and then randomly 6.61 came out. And I mean, the same thing happened. Everything was updated for that within a day or two. But Sony did make a minimal effort to patch even the PSP.
Yeah.
Long after, people were thinking it was going to be, officially supported. So
I think the reality is, if there are games to purchase on the PS Vita store, there's incentive there. They're still getting revenue from people buying games and stuff like that, and if there's still money flowing, and this is a way of getting around it potentially, I don't see why they wouldn't invest some time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
People are making business decisions, not like moral or intuitive decisions, right? It's not like, oh yeah, that console's on its way out, blah 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 blah. We're not manufacturing anymore. It's like, could we make more money?
Yeah.
Or could we lose money? If the answer is yes to the second one, then I don't see why they wouldn't invest some time into it.
Sure. So
Yeah.
cool.
Moving on.
Yeah. You've given me the last few here. So
Yeah,
how about
one.
go ahead and grab this one here.
So we're actually getting into some kind of legacy console news here.
Yes, we
in
are.
a sense.
And this one makes me happy.
Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. So basically, we're talking about the Super Nintendo, and more particularly an emulator. Should we go ahead and, before we get into this, should we take the donation that just rolled in?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
We have a simple $2 donation here from Ethel Monk.
Nice.
Thank you. There was no message attached to that, unfortunately.
Definitely, if you have something, put it in the chat or save it for the Q&A. We'll definitely try and address your thing because we appreciate you spending your hard-earned dollars on us.
Hell yeah.
That is not necessary, and it's much appreciated, as always.
As always, man.
So I guess let's go ahead and get into this. So basically, bsnes, which, have you ever used this emulator?
I think it's bsnes.
bsnes?
bsnes.
Yeah, bsnes.
Yeah.
However you actually get it out your
I
mouth.
say bsnes, but yeah. I have never used this, no.
Just total side thing. I've always hated the SNES moniker.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah. What I don't understand is people in the US here will say SNES, but people will say NES, but then they'll say SNES.
That's what pisses me off.
There's no consistency there.
And I wouldn't call it the NES. I would call it the NES.
So I've called it both. I say the NES, and I've also said NES or NES.
Yeah.
And people have just gotten pissed about that when I say it instead of spelling it out. And I'm like, well, what the hell? So what are we going to agree upon? Are we going to, we have to either spell both of them out or we have to pronounce both of them?
Yeah. I would say, personally, I'm an NES guy or a SNES/Super Nintendo guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's no NES. There's no SNES. NES is a video game character.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
So I don't know. That's just my thing. But
I'll let it be your thing.
Getting back to the actual content here. So this emulator got an update, and essentially it's to force HD mode 7 on all games.
And look at that. That looks so nice.
It does. It's extremely crispy.
Got my chest
really
shaved
nice.
and everything for that, man.
God. Please don't show.
You've dealt with me too much.
Yeah. I'm not surprised at anything you say. But basically, so here in the description, I didn't actually even know. I mean, I guess I knew of the concept. I didn't even know what it was called. But Mode 7 essentially was utilized by games like F-Zero, Super Mario Kart, and some others to look a little bit better. I don't know what the limitations were to this. I don't know why it wasn't used on all games. Maybe you have information on that?
I don't. I mean, not all games needed it, though.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
But it's clear that they could have benefited from it, from that screenshot that you showed. So essentially, this forces it onto all games, which, as this describes this as basically scaling up to 4 times the original resolution. But from what you said you were looking at a changelog, and that kind of had conflicting information.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused on that. Let me see. Yeah, so here near the bottom. Oh, I guess there was another update, but here added Durkones. I guess that's how you say it. Durkones HD mode 7 up to 2160p, around 100 frames per second boost for fast forwarding, configure latency, and wave out.
Right.
So yeah, you can.
I mean, basically, you're going to be
marks?
potentially seeing your Super Nintendo games in the best quality that they've ever been in.
And the big thing about this, because I know there's going to be many people that also still prefer, the actual Super Nintendo hardware, and I totally agree with that. And I'm very excited for this, mind you. But the reason why I'm excited with bsnes here, bsnes, however you're going to call it, is that this was created by Bew. I believe that's the developer's name. Yeah. And this developer specifically creates this emulator here to be the most accurate emulator out there. So I know a lot of people use SNES 9X because it's so well known. it's easy to configure, all that stuff. My bad, man. I'm sorry. It's very easy to use. It's very easy to configure, all that stuff. And it's just, it's out there. Everyone knows about that. But bsnes is the most accurate emulator out there. So if you're looking for pure accuracy, go with that.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing...
And now you're just making that even better.
I've never used this emulator myself, like I mentioned, but I did do a quick search, and I could really only find this available for Windows. Mm-hmm. So that is a potential limitation. I might be wrong, but I only found a Windows link for not just this build, but any build of this emulator. Okay. So if you're looking for run something on like a RetroPie or some kind of console, you might not get it, but the source, I think, is out there.
Not sure. I've personally never downloaded it. I do need to really try it though. And yeah, no, I'm seeing it here. So it's on Bu's site directly. But yeah, bsnes is Super Nintendo Super Famicom emulator. It's a subset project of Hagane. I believe that's how you say it. And yeah, source code or the Windows binary. And source code, Windows binary. So primary, FreeBSD, Windows 7, secondary, Linux, Mac OS.
So maybe there is.
I guess you need the Git code repository.
Maybe it's one
here.
of those that you got to compile yourself.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
Okay. Well, so
you would know more about this than me here, but
I mean, take me a minute to figure out if it actually can compile to other platforms, but so it's possible. Maybe don't rule that out, but it looks like the first class citizen is Windows. Mm-hmm. Really cool stuff, though. I really kind of like seeing stuff like that where you're getting a lot more detail out of this, a lot more quality without it looking like weird and unnatural or something, right? Because those screenshots look like Super Nintendo games.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, no, this looks great. I mean, we don't have any video of it, unfortunately, here. Right. But, I mean, just like, look how nice that cleans up.
I mean, there are going to be purists that are going to want, whether it's, on real hardware or not, that I'm sure are going to, like, their nostalgia is going to feel weird seeing something like this, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I think it looks gorgeous. I think for the type of game it is, that is awesome. That looks like, actually, it looks like a modern game, say, made for like the Switch or something like that, that's supposed to be retro, but like is new and modern, and now it's retrofitted to those old games. And I mean, the biggest thing for me is just the textures. It looks insanely good.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, this keeps coming up, but that Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, though.
Yeah, looked pretty good.
Yeah. I know that's unrelated, but goddamn it, like, that trailer, though.
I'm just holding back my excitement, honestly. Like, until it actually comes out, I'm not really giving it much of my attention. Not for any, like, protest.
It makes me happy. I understand, though. I got you. That's me with the new Tool album. Like, I'm starting to finally allow myself to get excited, but also a big part of me is just like, nope, until I have the CD. Yes, I'm getting a CD of it. Until I have the CD physically in my hand, nope, not believing it.
And what kind of made me crack up, because I mean, I'm sure it's getting closer. I'm sure it's probably...
Which one, Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not a Tool guy. So
I am.
I know. But we're sticking to video games right now. But the Final Fantasy thing, we've heard about this for, gosh, it feels like nearly a decade.
Yeah, and that's pretty accurate.
It made me crack up because I saw this and I was finally expecting, like, okay, are we going to get, like, some date? Like, even if it was, like, summer 2020, right? Mm-hmm. But it just said more info in June. It's just like, okay.
That's next month, man.
But what does more info mean?
It means more info.
We have generated the engine to generate the cinematic trailers.
Exactly.
Now we're starting game development. No,
Amen.
I really doubt it. I'm sure they're farther along than that. But it just cracked me up because I'm just like, here we go again. But pretty cool stuff. Anyways, let's not get sidetracked too much with that. Let's save some of that for the Q&A. Mm-hmm. So
I'll let you grab this one. I feel like you'd be more knowledgeable on this than me.
Yeah. So I didn't actually hear about this until you posted something. So
really,
to complete the segue here, we're moving into some Switch chat. All right.
Yes, we
can't go a month without it. Of course, you already know.
But
this is pretty interesting. So, essentially, there's a game called A Dark Room that was out, and basically it was out on the market for I think about a week.
I think it was like 2 weeks or something. Maybe the chat can clarify. If anybody knows how long A Dark Room was on the Switch eShop, please let us know.
And even the wording here says, last week I released this, and from what I heard, just a few hours after this was posted, it was taken down.
Okay.
So let's say 1 to 2 weeks, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this is a game. I don't really know much about the game, but
it's sorry to interrupt. It's a text-based adventure, kind of like Zork.
Okay, cool. So basically, if you plug in a keyboard, so do you know if a keyboard was necessary to play or
No.
It wasn't. They had
It
an
was
on-screen
not.
keyboard?
No, it was all. Well, it's just you just pick your options and all that because
okay.
it's an on-screen text-based adventure.
Okay, so this wasn't where you have to type out
No.
go left, and that was really
From
explicit.
what I understand, I think maybe an on-screen keyboard for some things, but
So essentially, the deal was if you took a USB keyboard, plugged it in, and hit the tilde key. All right, so the weird squiggle one in the top left corner of your keyboard.
The squiggly right there.
Yep.
It's called a tilde.
And so if you hit the tilde key, then it would basically bring you to a Ruby interpreter. So for those unaware, Ruby is a scripting programming language, so it runs kind of on the fly, and you can write legit code. Ruby is people have different opinions on Ruby, but it's a pretty popular language that has a lot of stuff out there. And kind of one of the benefits of Ruby is the reusability of what they call gems, which are essentially their library system. So kind of one of the I don't know what you call it, kind of just things about Ruby in general is that there's like a gem for everything. Now, how low level does this go? Probably not very. You're probably not going to get access to a lot of system related calls or anything like that. It's probably like a very user land oriented thing, but you could pretty easily code up a small program, a demo, maybe even a game. I don't know if it would save it. I didn't see anything about that. Honestly.
I don't know about that either. I really didn't see too
It's
much about it. And of course, I don't own the game either, so I can't play around with it.
It was probably just like an on-the-fly interpreter, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the developer himself came out and said, hey, this has been out for a little bit. Look what I did. And then got his game taken down.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's going to come back.
Oh, yeah, I doubt it.
You want to know how you piss off not just Nintendo, any company? You sneak something like that through certification.
Yeah, I mean, anything running arbitrary code, that's not, yeah. Although, I mean, seriously, this is something that does irritate me a little bit. I maybe like deceiving users, quote unquote, like slipping something in, but I don't see why a user land script interpreter is a bad thing.
I was going to ask your opinions on that. I guess what is the most damage that could have been done from this?
Most damage is that there's an exploit that was found that I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm not an exploit developer. I don't.
Sure.
This is not the realm that I.
But do you think it would have been realistic to have something using this interpreter here to exploit the system to break out, like run homebrew, run unsigned code of some kind?
I'm gonna say I doubt it without a lot of work. And then it's also like patch your shit. Like if you have if you have an exploit there, Ruby is not going to enable that. Ruby is not an exploit kit of any kind.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if there is going to be a flaw, that's going to be Nintendo's flaw, right? So you fix that. Like I think something like this could be really cool and actually could like promote programming on a cool system at a young age if done right, as opposed to like shunning this kind of thing and almost putting it in the hacker realm and like scaring people.
And it's interesting that you say that because did you look any further into this story or not?
Not too much, no.
Okay. The reason why I was asking is because this the developer behind it, he actually cited that same thing. He said, I just wanted this to be something that a kid stumbles upon, and maybe their programmer parents can teach their kids the love of coding using the Nintendo Switch, and they can work on that together. It's just this was just poorly rolled out. It was really the developer put it into the game. I know as an Easter egg, but he put it in. He didn't disclose to Nintendo. He knew. I'm just saying, I mean, if he hit it, he knew that it wasn't going to fly, and then he put it out like this and announced it, and Nintendo took it down. I think if he was more forthcoming about it and really presented it to Nintendo well, there could have been a better chance of putting it in. At worst, Nintendo would have said, we don't want that, get it out of the game. But if he was really showing them and had it, vetted and tested and all that in certification, I think it could have been really cool to have something like that on the system.
Yeah.
So he kind of shot himself in the foot with that.
I would agree. Definitely not the best execution for that.
The sentiment is awesome. The execution was poor.
But we also don't know if he had tried before. and basically did almost like a suicide mission where he was like, you know what I mean? I would think maybe he would have announced that aside from it, but maybe he didn't want to throw him under the bus. Instead, he was just like, look what I did, as opposed to like, screw Nintendo, you know, yeah, I'm going to do this anyway or something like that. I mean, he played it pretty passively against Nintendo themselves. But yeah, I think it's a little blown out of proportion, and I think these days with like app stores and stuff like that where we're distributing all this software, I think we're missing an opportunity here. But that's just me.
I know when it came to I think this is in regards to me asking what you can really do damage-wise with Ruby on this. Christian here was saying it's like hacking NASA with HTML.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's accurate.
Maybe, yeah. And I could be missing. Like I said, I could be missing something with Ruby. Maybe there are some like serious like exploit oriented libraries or toolkits out there that I'm not aware of. But again, a lot of that comes down to like the security on the system it's running on, right? If it's a scripting language, you're only going to get as many privileges as whatever. But the old adage is that if something can be hacked, or if it runs code at all, it can be hacked.
Sure.
Okay. And then running arbitrary code is one step closer to that. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's hard because I don't necessarily blame Nintendo. I just wish we could move past that and embrace it rather than extinguish.
No, I agree. Hey, maybe there could be like a 50-cent $1 Ruby interpreter that goes up on the eShop one day. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
We'll see. I just think, again, it would have been, I think it would have been more beneficial, and that bridge could have been, we could have been closer to building that bridge if it wasn't hidden like it was and announced as it was.
One other possible thing, it could be like not wanting to get the foot in the doorway and, give a mouse a cookie kind of style of things. But I guess if you are distributing some kind of like interpreter like that or some way to run arbitrary code, you could facilitate a way of distributing software outside of Nintendo's kind of store, their eShop or whatever.
Right.
I doubt you're going to be creating insanely complex games in Ruby on the Switch like that. And as far as I know, games I don't know. I doubt that game could have like direct access to the SD card to load up some source code. So I don't really know.
I don't know. And I think that's the other thing too. I'm sure Nintendo's just like, we don't know what the hell this thing's capable of. Is it capable of loading arbitrary code from an SD card? We don't know.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But it would be cool because there are things out there like we could very easily have on the Switch just a sandboxed environment for Ruby that would go more like a tutorial side of things, right? Like here's an interpreter that's live. You can like learn code and you can run the code right here and view your results. I think that's an awesome opportunity for a console like this, especially with the demographic that it targets. In fact, just the fact that it's all ages. People can get into coding at age 5 or at age 50. So it's a bummer.
Bummer indeed. So we can, I guess, say rest in peace to A Dark Room on the Switch. Mm-hmm. Thanks to the Ruby interpreter.
Hopefully the developer doesn't get like banned for life.
I kind of feel like he would.
Yeah, I mean, that's
for doing something like this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Oh well.
Side note: the looks like the developer is using Mastodon, Ruby.social.
Yes, yeah, that was the first time I've been on Mastodon, right here on the podcast.
Kind of neat. Mastodon's cool. It's a little too. I don't know. I don't have time to go find micro communities like that. And
okay, I got you.
I tried it. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I know you were like raving to me about it for a bit.
Concept is awesome. I enjoyed my time on it, but I don't have time to be fiddling with a lot of that or like, I don't know.
Sure.
Finding those micro communities. Mm-hmm. But I do like the idea. Open source. Social network. Pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. Do you want me, since you took a couple of these, you want me to take this one? Or do you want to get into it?
I actually have a good amount of experience on this one. Do you mind if I take it?
You can take it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll give you the next one. That works.
Oh, sure.
Okay, cool. See, this is how we're adults here, right? So this is a new development. This just sprung up on me last night. Well, came out last night, learned about it today, got to experiment with it today, so I can report back with results on here. But This I am excited about. I think this is the most excited I've been using my hack Switch, honestly. Reicast, the Dreamcast emulator, has been ported to the Nintendo Switch as an alpha. So again, this link will be down below in the description if you all want to check it out. It just comes as an NRO file. You are going to need to bring your own games, of course. You're also going to need to bring your own Dreamcast BIOS, essentially. But once you get all that started, it's very much hit or miss. And I mean that in the best of ways. I've tried several different games on it so far, like my experiences today. So like here, I mean, you're seeing there's all these settings here that are available. You're able to get into the BIOS just fine. I had no issue with that. Jet Grind Radio plays well from what I see. I really didn't mess around with that. But the games I did play today, I ended up playing Crazy Taxi, which plays super well on there. I mean, there's frame rate drops, there's, performance hiccups and all that, but it was extremely playable. And it looked so nice on this thing. This Switch right here, this is what I was playing it on. It looked so nice on it. Crazy Taxi was super fun to play. House of the Dead 2, I was demoing to many people. That was real fun to play around with as well, too. I tried Resident Evil 2. I couldn't get that to boot. Resident Evil 3, the menus are just completely messed up on there. I tried Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2, it looks like it's okay. And then as soon as you get in-game, it's just kind of like you're... What's the best way of putting it? It's kind of like you're going through a tunnel of, like, just Sonic broken up into lines. It's kind of scary. What else did I try? I tried, surprisingly though, Resident Evil Code Veronica played quite well on that. So I was really shocked how well the 3D games were playing on there. I also tried widescreen mode, which the really cool thing with Reicast is it doesn't just stretch the screen. It ends up like, it looks kind of goofy. So for example, like what it does is it renders the rest of the game on the screen. So you're seeing the entire screen with a game render. The aspect ratio isn't ruined. However, when it comes to any cutscenes, for example, when they go into widescreen mode, where they pretty much put the black bars there, you'll see the black bars in 4:3, but then 16:9 is all clean, like the stuff on the sides. But save states works just fine. Widescreen was working well enough on there. Of course, this is going to need tweaking and all that, but this is... Dude, I was just purely excited playing around with this. It is awesome so far, and it's hard to believe that this is only a alpha, and it's its own thing. So it's its own NRO file, and you just launch it through whatever you're supposed to. One thing though, I will show this. I guess let me kind of bring this up, and I'm gonna try and do this. Here we go. I kind of try and do this like on screen here at the same time. There we go. So essentially the way you're supposed to launch this is you're supposed to run it not through going through the album, but you're supposed to launch it in the game mode. So if you boot up any games through here, if you put anything on your home menu, you end up using the full power of the Switch essentially. So what you're supposed to do is, this is really only recommended for Atmosphere, but you hold down the right trigger, you press A to boot up any game, and then your homebrew menu pops up. And there you can play any homebrew like that, accessing the full system resources. And then Reicast can be played through there. So
yeah,
it works out real well.
I don't think I could find the source code on this, but I did. I do believe it's actually forked from a... I guess it is designed to be multi-platform, because I'd found this most commonly referenced on for an Android emulator. I've never experimented with Reicast myself, but that's definitely where I saw kind of the most talk about it. But for here, it looks like it's, out of the box, the official Reicast GitHub builds for Android, iOS, Mac OS, for Linux. So that's pretty neat. So you definitely got a variety of platforms that you can work on here.
Right on.
One thing I don't know if you saw this, but I found a kind of a compatibility spreadsheet that's floating around.
I did not see that at all. No, I haven't looked into that, admittedly.
Yeah,
somebody was asking about how Soul Calibur is on Reicast. I did not try Soul Calibur, unfortunately.
It does say, and over here, people have tested it, and it's kind of similar to, I guess, Sonic Adventure. It does say it's playable, but there's a lot of texture and graphical issues.
And that sounds pretty accurate. I mean, Crazy Taxi had its issues as well too, unfortunately. But
So
Yeah.
I'll send you over that spreadsheet so you can put it in the show notes if you want.
Right on.
But there's people working on that as we speak. There's 16 people viewing the spreadsheet right now. So.
Right on. You sent it to me on the show notes, you said?
I haven't sent it to you yet.
Oh, okay.
We can figure that out.
Okay.
Here in a minute.
My bad.
It's all good.
I'm just too excited, I guess.
But yeah, not perfect. I'm probably gonna hold off just a little bit, especially because I really want to play Sonic Adventure. It's funny that
I get that. Yeah, for me, Crazy Taxi is just instantaneous enough where I can sit there and play it for 3-5 minutes quickly, and yeah.
I gotta say, after playing Crazy Taxi in the arcade, man, I don't know if I want to play it on the console unless I gotta, you know what I mean?
Oh man, but I'm telling you, you're playing really the best port unless you decide to emulate the arcade version. But you're playing with the original soundtrack. You're playing with all the bonus modes that were thrown in there.
Yeah.
You're playing with all the original branding. So you're not going to generic chicken place. You're going to KFC, baby.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
You're going to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
You're going to, I don't remember what else is in there, but still, all the original stuff is in the Dreamcast build. It's great.
Dude, I think back to when I had a Dreamcast. That was my only time I've ever had a steering wheel pedal kind of configuration for a game console.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was so cool. How old was I? I was probably 7, 8 years old at the time. That was pretty freaking sweet.
It's awesome.
Definitely check it out. I think it's going to be getting better and better, and if it does, I'm going to be playing with it because it's kind of funny. I've got a Sonic Adventure and Jet Grind Radio on my PC through Steam, and I played with my Pro controller. So if I can just, you know what I mean?
Am I still library sharing with you?
Don't.
Because I know I
think
shared
so.
my library with you, and then you freaked out about that. You were just you flipped out as soon as you saw Jet Grind Radio on my library.
I don't think so. I think you stopped sharing with me, which is fine because I hardly ever play on my PC. And
I did not stop sharing with you. If you don't utilize my library after a certain amount of time, it automatically disconnects the share.
Well, I'm pretty sure because I remember just thinking oh, I don't have that, and then I was just well, I'll buy it. Definitely worth a couple dollars. Those games are cheap right now.
Right on.
When I looked. That's really, I think, all there's left to talk about on the reicast emulator.
Yeah. So we have one last thing. Unfortunately, we're kind of, in this one on a sad note. Man, I should have arranged this better. I'm sorry, everyone.
Okay.
I hype everyone up with a reicast, and then we have to bring it down.
It's okay. Q&A will bring us back.
Sure. Unless people just ask really depressing questions.
True. Always possible.
Anything's
Nobody's going to
possible.
do that. The chat's too good.
Yeah.
This, though, I think there is something, it's not all doom and gloom. I think just the fact that it's happened in general is enough to be excited about. What we're talking about is Super Mario Brothers. The game originally released on the NES was ported to the Commodore 64. So
And this is a homebrew port, by the way.
right.
It's not like an official port
Correct.
or anything. It wasn't using the original code from what I see. But
I didn't really look too much into the nitty-gritty of this. I have no idea how this was actually accomplished. I'm sure there was reverse engineering. There was probably
no doubt.
all kinds of hackery going on. But the end result is that basically your Commodore 64, you would go boot into this program, which Commodore 64, for people that are even I never had one, and I'm sure there's people even younger than that who are watching and listening. But it was an old computer, essentially designed mostly around video games. But it was back in the day when your video game console was basically a computer, and that's it. I mean, they still are now, but it was.
But it was literally a computer.
Yeah, it was basically a PC.
Bringing the Leafy back on there.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool. I don't know if you want to pull up the video here, because I thought the video, just watching it kind of launch was interesting.
Sure. But yeah, so I guess kind of more of the detail on that. It was, because this was worked on for about 7 years.
Right.
How long did it took, 4 days ago? 4 days for it to get DMCA'd and taken down?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Which I can't imagine these people thought it was actually going to stay up.
No, I don't think
what
so.
I mean? Again, this is for the love of...
Holy shit, that boot screen. Oh,
have you not seen this yet?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
It's pretty wild.
Yo.
So, I mean, they added
Just look at that. Look at that, everyone. Hold on. Look at that.
It's got a custom boot screen here. So it says Super Mario Bros. 64.
I want to see that again. I'm sorry.
Obviously not built into that. It does have a recommended version there, the European 50 SPS model.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I don't know.
Honestly. Oh, that's so cute.
But you can see the game loading, and bam, right there we get into the raw deal. So, that little boot screen.
No, I just read about... Oh my, that looks so good.
Yeah. No.
Yo, that looks so good.
if anyone's played this knows it's not quite Sonic, but frame rate does matter in Mario.
That looks so good. Oh my god, they put so much work into this.
Yeah, it looks good.
I feel even worse now.
The speed is good, but yeah, sadly, it's not available to the public anymore. I'm sure you can find it if you know where to look.
Of course. I mean, once it's on the internet, it's there forever.
Yep. But, we're not seeing any
God.
glitches. This stays very true to Super Mario.
This looks so good. Like, I got tears in my eyes. I feel bad that
yeah.
I feel even worse that this was taken down. But I mean, that's what happens with this shit, unfortunately.
Yep.
Why can't Nintendo just be like Sega with this? Sega sees a fan game and they joke about Deem saying, they're just like, oh, we're going to take down your... Nah, just kidding. That's real cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they hire people to make the best Sonic game in years.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Nintendo's really not going after the Commodore 64 market, but...
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, it is sad because obviously, I don't know.
Look at that booth. That's so awesome.
I get emulators being released on modern things. Let's say Nintendo went after an Android port of Super Mario Brothers. I get it. That's very accessible. Really, how many people have a Commodore 64 these days that are actually going to be doing this?
Right.
I guess probably almost every single person who has a Commodore that still actively uses it.
I really don't think having a homebrew build of your game out for the Commodore 64 is going to take away any sales from any other variants of Super Mario Brothers. That's just my opinion on there.
Again, if it was what I described, it's on iOS or Android, and you decide not,
or
to
if it's
sign
on
up,
Switch, if someone somehow gets on Switch,
you decide not to get
but...
Nintendo Switch Online, which has it. You know what I mean? I could totally see that playing out, and I'd be like, I get you, Nintendo, but this, you're in the right. But
God damn it,
only legally. I feel like it would have been totally fine to let this go.
Yeah,
and it's moments like these where Nintendo could get a really good look if they even embraced it a little. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They could have just twisted this around. Nobody's gonna go out and buy a Commodore 64 just to pirate Super Mario Brothers, right?
No.
So if they were just hey, this is really cool, retweet this. They could have gotten some insanely good press.
And I guess the other thing is, too, when it comes down to it, it's not even the guise of a fan game. This is a homebrew port, I guess you can say. And even at that point, it's really kind of dare I say, a copy of the game. So I guess, yeah, even from then, it's legally I get what they're doing, but God damn it, Nintendo.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just as bad as, I guess, I mean, they're not the same, but just as bad as the Pokemon Company.
Yeah. I was in the same building as the Pokemon Company, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I visited Valve, I guess the Pokemon Company is in the same building there.
Very
so
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure their American office is a bit smaller than their Japanese office.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But bummer.
Bummer indeed.
If anybody has this and was able to try it out, maybe Modern Vintage Gamer, who totally on record, I'm just kidding, said he was going to give me a Commodore 64. No, he didn't.
Yeah, he totally did. He totally did.
We have it here. Apparently, this man has 3 over there.
This man has 3.
But
I wonder if he plays Jenga with them. Commodore 64 Jenga edition or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. I've never used one of those old computers.
I actually haven't either. It makes me feel like I know I'm a youngin', but it makes me feel real young. I think it still freaks me out too, because even people refer to Ataris as basically.
Those are computers, yeah, old retro computers.
Yeah, and I had an Atari when I was younger, and I never thought of it like that. So I don't know. It's weird to put
which one are you talking about? A 2600 or something like that, or because I mean there was I think the Atari ST. That name is just swirling around in my head. Was that a computer?
I think it was the 2600. It was the 2600.
So you own the 2600.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm pulling Atari ST from.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. This is what happens in my head, okay? It's the shit that circulates there. Anyways, we're done with topics, by the way. Before we start just having a Google marathon here, we are done with topics at this point. I'd say this is a fairly thing. It took about an hour to get through this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good amount of topics, I would say. Shorter than other episodes for sure. And I was kind of looking forward to that as well, too. But yeah, because I was like, we're not overloaded with topics, and I'm happy. So we have some good meat that we can carve out here.
I agree. I think it was a good round, and this is my second day getting back into working out after a couple week break between my vacation and all kinds of stuff. So my body could use
your body's ready.
The shorter show.
And by the way, I did. Thankfully, a few people confirmed it, but I also just looked it up. Yes, So my inklings were correct. The Atari ST was a computer.
Your Splatoons?
Splatoons.
Your inklings?
My inklings. My inkling was correct. All right. Oh man,
that's gross, Danny.
My bad.
So yeah. Before we get into topics, it looks like X41 dropped another €5.
Yes. And thank you again for that X41. These are not needed, but we appreciate them nonetheless. But he's saying here, give rants about all paid for DRM-ridden piece of shit piracy devices you can think of.
We can keep that in mind.
We'll keep that in mind for sure. Yeah. I'm ranted out tonight, thankfully. I feel good.
I don't know how many more segments we can add. I think we might have to gradually work this in.
There was that thing. I mean, there was Stargate NX, which I ranted to you about that, and I never covered it on here for similar reasons. I just didn't really want to promote it. But Stargate NX is dead right now. So,
but the Team Executor website isn't. Right, because that was down with it for a while.
Yeah, that was just an observation I'm throwing out. I talked about this on Twitter, and I'm not doing any tinfoil stuff, but I don't think it's too much of a coincidence that the Executor sites and the Stargate NX site went down at the same time. The same time.
Well, wasn't there like a lot of Whois information that pointed them to kind of like...
Oh, that's a whole other thing I can get into. Yeah.
So
yeah, if y'all want to see some spooky stuff.
So yeah, it's not like X41 wanted you to rant like right now.
I understand. He just wanted it in the future, but that's what's on my mind right now. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but Stargate NX, yeah, that was kind of lame.
Yeah, and for anyone that doesn't know, Stargate NX, it was a paid service where I think it was like $20-$30 a month, and you end up it only works on SXOS. You needed SX installer. It used some very specific calls that SXOS had and SX installer used, and you get the license for it, you put it on, you pay for like a month at a time, and you're able to download updates, downloadable content, and games for it. Pirated, of course, but you can download and install them and all that stuff. So again, paid piracy service.
And put a file on your system that said "fuck the haters." Oh wait, that was the other one.
No, that was the PlayStation Classic.
Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was dirty, real dirty, and like I mean, it's one thing to be dirty on a console even this old. Like the kind of skeeziness of that is a spectrum. But come on, it's like on a new console.
Yeah,
it's like that's worse than Free Shop because you're literally like getting paid for it.
Yeah, and even Free Shop, I mean, there were limitations to it. Like, Free Shop was, hey, you have to bring your own tickets on here, and you can import your own system tickets if you want to, but you are responsible for that. So they weren't, and also it wasn't being charged for. Of course, there were a bunch of people who were, getting tickets that they didn't own for games, loading them up on there, and then pirating that way officially through Nintendo's content delivery network. But it wasn't paid piracy like this,
right,
where it was files hosted on some server somewhere and you're paying this company to download them. That was another one I saw too. That was entertaining because I don't think it was a very successful service, as there were some people that paid for it, but it was the people who were against piracy said it was stupid, and even the people who pirated all their stuff were just like, well, why would I pay for this service when I can just do the same shit for free and better?
Yeah, and I get more of the incentive to like create a service for normies, for like in the PlayStation Classics position, right, where a normie can buy this dongle and use it, and if they really, really don't know anything about it and they're totally clueless, I understand a little bit more. But you're right, the people who would even be able to use Stargate NX probably would not pay for that.
Yeah.
So just as a business and like how like the concept was founded and the revenue model seems kind of
not good,
failure prone. So I'm kind of glad that it's not really operating anymore. I definitely didn't give it a try, and I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone if it does come back.
Yeah. Anyways, we should get into our questions here. So do you want to take this away with, I guess, explaining how this normally goes?
Yeah, sure. So we're in the Q&A section of ModChat. We do this every single month. We do the podcast. It's at the end for a little bit of time, kind of, we usually just kind of feel it out. I don't know if we really dedicate an allotted amount of time, but you're free to ask us any questions. We'll give the chat our full attention, address as many as we can, and just, roll with it and see how it goes.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah, if you all have any questions in the chat here, be sure to drop them. If you're listening to a pre-recorded version of this or you're watching the video on demand, if you can make it out to one of the shows, that would be awesome. And, you can ask us here near the end if you make it out on time. I know that's a little hard for everyone. We try and do them in the middle of the month. We were going to do this one originally on Wednesday, but the other weeks didn't work. Well, Wednesday didn't work for you, and other weeks didn't work for me. So we have a Tuesday show.
Yeah.
And that frees up my Wednesday, so that's good, even though I'm going to be doing a lot of shit. But
yeah, we try not to rearrange it too often. But
we try not to. We're normally pretty good about doing it Wednesday around the middle of the month somewhere. But hell yeah.
So first question here that I want to get to before the chat scrolls up too much. Tag Media. They asked, the conversation about the Switch Ruby interpreter got me wondering, are developers of games who wind up with system exploits punished or fined for the error? You kind of followed up. Suppose you're a homebrew developer for an end-of-life system and you launch a Kickstarter to develop a game, but it's only playable on a modded system. Can you be subject to a C and D?
That's a lot in there. I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know for sure to answer your question with confidence. I say usually no, as long as there's no copywritten material in it, right? If it's built with an open source tool chain, it doesn't have any keys or any system files that are copywritten by the company who developed the console, I don't think you're actually going to get normally going to go after you. Most of the time when we see these homebrew exploits and stuff like that come out for consoles, you're not getting these people that are punished. Now, you may see a situation like GeoHot where he released, the PS3.
Now, that was a lot more than just releasing a homebrew game on the PS3.
That was you released one of
that
the
was
master keys.
Yeah, that was root keys.
Yeah, and then they even went after him. I don't know if he was fine, but then he was basically
I think they settled.
Yeah, he was you cannot touch a PlayStation or something like that. It was obscene. He basically had to sign an agreement to completely stay out of the scene, never release anything ever again. You see more of that, if anything. A lot of it is you're not allowed to touch stuff. We're not going to like ruin your life, but you're not allowed to touch any of our products again. Mm-hmm. I think that's more likely. And we've even seen Sega's pretty lax these days and stuff like this, but on the Dreamcast, we've seen games that have come out that are not officially licensed Sega games. They're still coming out because we have the ability to burn those games and get the console to run them. Now, it's not quite the exploit that we see these days. They can run on an unmodded system essentially, but I think it's kind of in the similar vein as far as legality goes.
Yeah, I was actually going to say it's really good that you brought that up with the Sega thing. I'm just sitting here. That was it, Josh Prod. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place right now. So I saw that you combined two of Tag Media's questions, and I'm going to kind of go in them separately. So the one he was saying with the with developers of games who get system exploits, I don't believe they're really ever punished. I feel like that would be unfair because the developer really didn't make that with the exploit in mind. It just ended up being, kind of the crux of it. But they will normally make that developer take the game down and then fix that issue most of the time. But there's times where, for example, the 3DS, I'm thinking of that, where Cubic Ninja, that had, the big exploits in there, and the development team had disbanded. There was no active development going on that game. So who was going to patch that? Nobody was going to. So that game never got patched. But then even first-party games, for example, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, that was also another exploit game. First-party game from Nintendo, but that was developed so many years later, no multiplayer on it. I don't think they had any active code development on that either. So I think sometimes it's very pick and choose on what it is.
Right. Now,
for the second part of that, for doing the Kickstarter as a developer, I think it really depends on the company you're dealing with. So with Sega, you have... I think if you released something for the Xbox or the PS2 or even the GameCube, really, if it got too much traction, you would get a C&D. But I think it's really with Nintendo, for example, not Nintendo, with Sega. Have you ever heard of Josh Prod?
I haven't, no.
So Josh Prod, what this guy does, or what this team does, is they go and they end up finding games that they can port over to the Dreamcast. So they will like buy up the rights to the game and then develop a port and then release a port in like 2018, 2019, 2020 for the Dreamcast, like a physical copy of it. And those are games, obviously they're not officially licensed by Sega. They are reproduction or bootleg games, however you're going to call it. They're not authorized by any means. And there's a big business behind it, but they're also releasing games that weren't on there before, and it seems like everything they're doing, everything in the clear, and really the only gray area, and I say gray because I don't know of the details of it, but the only gray area is really actually pressing the disc. But Sega has made it very well known they don't give a shit, as shown by their plus 15 years of silence on this. Mm-hmm. So I think it would depend on the developer, how much traction it's going to get, the actual system it's on, because sometimes I feel like if it's Nintendo, if it's any of their systems, they're going to care. But then if you're dealing with Sega, for example, they don't give a shit. That's just free publicity for them. The Sega Dreamcast is relevant again for another 2 weeks.
I don't remember exactly what line this was riffed off of, but my boy Kyle, Kyle.
Yeah,
Kyle's
I met Kyle.
People. He's in the chat, and he said something. I think it was relevant to this exact conversation. It was, you have to be Soulja Boy to get that attention. And I was thinking,
he said, I have to boss up.
Is Soulja Watch available yet?
You mean like the Soulja game console?
Just his website.
Oh,
it's been down
he made another site.
Did he? Are
you
sure?
He did. He made another site. SouljaWatch.com doesn't work anymore. And on, I think it was the first episode of Mario's Minute of this year, the one I had Modern Vintage Gamer on, we actually talked about that. And Devin, to date, I don't think anybody who has bought the Soulja Boy game consoles from Soulja Watch has gotten their systems.
I haven't seen. I tried to look on YouTube for people who had bought them, and all I saw were people buying the original,
like from Amazon or Wish or AliExpress. Right. But no, I don't believe, I never saw any proof that anyone who bought those consoles from Soulja Boy's site themselves got them from there.
I can't even find this freaking website anymore. I don't even know I don't know. I cannot find this freaking thing.
Remember when we showed it on the stream and it was just so bad?
It's crazy.
Was that the drunk episode we did that?
I don't remember.
I think it was. That sounds about right. In December, I think we did that.
Is this it? Soulja Electronics? There it is.
And 404 not found. So even that site's broken.
That was for a specific
product. Okay. He's got the bootleg... the Soulja Pods, is that the one or the two?
Apparently the one. And the fact that he would even charge, like, he's discounting it $80 to $30. It's like, bro, $80 for your fucking
$80,
shitty knockoff.
How do you know they're shitty? You haven't used them,
dude.
Let's see. Let's show the site here. All right. Free shipping today only.
I remember I can't remember what radio show it was Breakfast Club or something like that. And they were just like, because he's got, obviously his iPhone and, his Apple Watch. And they're just like, so why aren't you using the Soulja Watch? Why aren't you? And he was just kind of like, man,
I can do what I want on Big Soulja.
Right.
No, I remember that was Everyday Struggle. I remember that.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because I watch his Breakfast Club and the, oh my God, look at this.
No video
If you try and leave. Leaving, I'll hook you up.
Oh my God. So to confirm, there are no video game consoles
There's
out there.
no... He had to boss up.
There's only cloned Soulja Watches, Soulja Pods. But he even came out after that, I think, and said that they were coming back.
Yes, he did. He did. He was going to be making another console as well, and I think another console, so... Yeah.
Get the heck out of here, man.
I'll go ahead. While you're looking at that, let me grab another question here. So that was definitely a good one, but let me see... Here, Nicholas is asking, have you ever watched a podcast while in absolute pain? That's me right now. I don't think I have. Have you? Unless we're talking about internal struggles where it's like I'm like watching or listening to something or even performing and I have like anxiety out the ass. That's not fun.
I'm definitely the kind of person, if I'm in like too much pain, I'm probably just going to be lethargic and just stare and moan.
Okay.
But no,
so the answer for you would be no.
Thankfully, though, I haven't been in a lot of pain in general recently, so I'm pretty healthy, pretty good.
I understand.
So
emotionally I've been pretty well, so you know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I hope you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope Nick feels better as well too. Pain's not fun.
Let's see. Where did you leave off?
That was on Nicholas's comment with the podcast. Let me see. Oh, here. Thoughts on the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. That's from That One Martini. So I think it looks fantastic so far. I know that Final Fantasy VII Remake, I mean, we've obviously been waiting a hell of a long time for this just because originally, I mean, people wanted it on PS3 because there was a tech demo that was released. Did you ever see that tech demo?
Yeah.
Okay, so like everyone thought, oh, Final Fantasy VII Remake's happening. No, it was just the tech demo of the intro. And then the remake was finally officially announced, and CyberConnect 2 was working on it. And they worked on it for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then apparently Square Enix decided to bring development in-house, and they scrapped all of CyberConnect 2's work because they said, hey, this is not usable. So they had to restart the game again. And that's what they're working on right now. But from the trailer that we saw, it looks so much better. The voice acting I love so far. I have nothing but love for it. It looks fantastic to me.
Yeah,
I'm buying into the hype. That's me. I'm fully aware that I'm buying into the hype.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I am not in the sense that it's like screw that game, but I'm more like, yeah, I'll rather play like Final Fantasy 9 or 10 right now than worry about Final Fantasy 7.
We do have Final Fantasy 7 on the Switch right now.
That's true. Yeah. I guess that's on there too. I forget that. But like, you know, we I don't know. Until it's actually out or until I have like a release date, and even then it's like I expect delays probably for the history of this thing. You know, sure, I'll enjoy a good video. I'll be like, that was nice. But am I going to get like, you know, insanely hyped and lose my shit? No. I mean, we'll see. I hope it comes out, and I hope people enjoy it when it does. But yeah, it's not something I want to give like a ton of attention. But I don't know if you've noticed, but like especially as I've gotten older, I pay so much less mind to like previews and rumors and all that stuff.
Same here.
I mean? It's just like when it's out, it's out. I don't have time to like fill my brain with.
Last year was the first time in recent history where I did not sit around for all the E3 conferences. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do a greatest hits run. I'm just going to wait for all the trailers and all the news to come out, and I'm going to pick and choose, and I'm going to watch what I want to watch, and I'm going to not watch. Because a lot of the conferences are kind of just bullshit that I don't really care about. Like, I don't want to sit around and learn about Madden for 20 minutes. I don't care. I've never cared about it.
Yeah, I do like those, like, you'll see Engadget or CNET or one of the big kind of tech news outlets, and they'll do, like, you know, the Sony E3 conference in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. I got what I needed out of that, right? I don't need to really just gush over that stuff. Now, if I was at E3 or something like that, yeah, sure, I might enjoy it and embrace it for what it is at that moment. But yeah, as far as keeping track of just rumors and previews and stuff like that.
Do you know MVG is going to E3?
Is he?
Yeah.
No,
he is.
That's awesome. Is that
Yes.
Is that going to be his first time, do you know?
I think so.
That'd be awesome.
I think so. So
get firsthand experience on the lines and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I'm wanting to know about that.
Yeah.
I want to MVG, if you're listening, I want to talk to you about that once you come back, because I think the thing is, I'm not trying to downplay it by any means, but I don't think it's a good sign when I'm seeing all the big companies are starting to not do their conferences at E3.
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing a lot more of a shift towards Game Developers Conference and Gamescom, where those are the big media events where a lot of these companies are going to. So like Nintendo really has kind of been absent from E3 for the most part for the past few years in terms of doing a big conference. I want to say Sony pulled out. Is Microsoft doing anything this year? I don't know.
I don't even know.
I think there's only like one big. I think Microsoft's the only one doing a conference this year.
Well, and if you think about, I'm not super sure about E3, but I think it follows the same suit. Like CES was like, it's been around for a long time. It wasn't for video games.
That's correct. Yeah.
These were not video game conferences.
Well,
and they kind of got like taken over by that.
Sure.
Or in a big capacity. But like, these were like just electronic shows. And then video games just got really, cool. So, I mean, maybe there's some value into separating those things back out again. We've got a lot of tech that comes out, and video games just kind of would steal the show.
Well, I think maybe it's because so much of advancements in games and what games can be capable of, it also goes hand in hand with advancements in tech and everything as well too.
Well, and like you also see, I don't know. I don't see why companies like what's the hype in bringing all these people to a venue too, when we have so much technology to stream this stuff or whatever, right? Like even like you think of like Nintendo Directs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't really like Nintendo very rarely has a big thing, but they get like thousands of people watching a live stream all at the same time. You know what I mean? If you want to tune in, do it. I mean, we're in the slightly different age where we can stream all this stuff.
Well, that's been a big thing as well too. There's one YouTuber I remember who had made a video saying that they weren't going to be going to Comic-Con anymore. And they had gone to Comic-Con every year for like 15, 20 years. And they said they're not going to go to Comic-Con because it was getting to the point where it's getting really expensive. They're wasting a bunch of their time in lines. They used to go, for the fun stuff, which is not as fun anymore. And they used to go for all the exclusive news. And the problem is, it's like, as soon as something is released at Comic-Con, so as soon as a trailer is premiered at Comic-Con, it goes up on YouTube.
Yep.
As soon as, even there was a lot of stuff that was supposed to be Comic-Con exclusive, guess what? It goes up online. So he was saying, like,
or gets
even
leaked at the very least.
At the very least. So he was even saying, I, as a person who covers news about this stuff, would actually save a bunch of money and get a lot more done and be able to broadcast much faster and easier if I just sat my ass at home in front of my computer and took in all the news from there, as opposed to actually attending Comic-Con.
If you think about it, if you're trying to cover a certain breadth of news and you're spending so long in lines and stuff like that, like, you might be actually better off if you're like a sole person, right? You don't have like a big, large team tackling like every booth. If you're just a sole person, you're going to be waiting in line and news is going to be popping up while you're in line, when you could just be sitting at home aggregating all this news from the comfort of your couch.
And then you're like sitting there on your phone, like buried in it, looking at all this, and then everyone's on their phone at once. So then the Wi-Fi networks are going to be bogged down if you're using your cell connection. Your actual like LTE connection is going to be bogged down as well. Yeah. Pixel 3 AXL, by the way, this phone's fucking awesome. I love it so much.
The Pixel 3 Axle.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a good word for it. Pixel 3 Axle.
Yeah. I've seen that floating around online a little bit.
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's get back to some questions before we sign off.
My bad.
Because I don't have a lot of steam, so I don't know how many more questions.
What you're saying is you're tired.
Let's keep rolling.
Uh-huh.
Let's keep the momentum. So in TG television, maybe you know about this. It said, just installed HEN on my Super Slim. What do I need to upgrade my internal HDD? I thought
you remove the old hard drive, you pop in the new hard drive. You're pretty much going to have to reinstall HEN because you're going to have to reapply 4.84 HFW from a flash drive. And then once that installs, obviously your setup's not going to be there, so you're going to need to install HEN, and then you should be good.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
It's pretty easy.
Sound about like what I was expecting, but just want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
It's really easy to upgrade the hard drive on the PS3, thankfully.
Love that. That definitely makes me happy.
Yeah. I see one here that's interesting. I want you to answer this too, but even though it's directed to me, do you think the tablet scene died? Don't hear much from that. I personally think it did, because I'm of the belief, like, for me personally, when I had a Nexus 4, I had a little 4-inch screen on my phone. I use that for little phone stuff. Then I have a Nexus 7, still have the tablet. I use it for bigger stuff, watching videos on the side and all that. As soon as I got a big enough phone, the tablet just kind of died to me and became an alarm clock. I no longer have, even at this point, this phone screen is 6 inches. I have no reason to use a tablet regularly. The only time I use mine now is like if I'm sitting, like, let's say in bed really late at night and I'm sitting and doing stuff on my phone and I want to play something from Netflix or Plex on the side, I'll like post up my tablet there and do whatever.
I think the market's died for you. I think
I agree.
More and more. So first of all, iPads are selling really well. Android could not get their grip on tablets, which was a problem. All right, and they kept changing things, and they kept not selling well. I don't think the Microsoft. I mean, I don't know. The Microsoft Surface is kind of there, but I was not a fan when I had one on my last job. I think it's had a couple years of iteration, so maybe it's gotten better. I think that there was a lot of like everyone was missing the mark a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is that like the iPad right now, it's like the iPad Pro has got USB-C now and stuff like that, but they're not enabling peripherals. So some of these creators are just like, it's almost there. Like, give us a little more permission. Let us plug in some storage. And so I think everyone's missing the mark a little bit. But then I look at, like, my cousin's a tattoo artist, and I watch him just, like, we were at a family thing, and he whips out his iPad Pro, like the 13-inch one.
Oh, geez, that's huge.
He's got an iPad. He's got his Apple Pencil. He had, like, a little capacitive blocking glove on part of his hand right here, and he was just doing artwork. And looking at him do that in such a powerful, form factor, he was doing artwork, and he would just pinch it, zoom way in, and change his tool and get, like, some ridiculous shading in ways that you could never do. Like, not that easily on, like, a canvas. Like,
that's cool.
And then he'd zoom back out, and he would come in, like, he would draw a rough line and then hit it, and it would, like, basically, like, smooth it out and perfect it, and he could, like, put his anchor points and just, like, start modifying things. The rate at which he was able to do that was insane, and being able to do that, like, on the go, like, you could say, like, Wacom has tablets where they're like a screen that you can plug in now instead of just being a tablet, but you can't take that, like, on the go, or it wouldn't be, like, nearly as nice. There are definitely still, like, use cases for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Chrome OS is a really interesting kind of angle now, like Google with their Chrome tablets. So it's like basically running Chrome OS as the tablet OS, and that's got some potential because it's very lightweight. The UI needs some improvements. The tablets need to be a little bit better and compete at a price point with the iPad for what you're getting, because the iPad is pretty well priced these days. Honestly, you can get one as cheap as $320. That's not that bad.
And how big is that?
A 10-inch.
Okay. Oh no, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
And so, especially because then you have to then realize that you are going to pay more for Apple products just because it's Apple. So you're just like, I can get a 10-inch Android tablet for cheaper. It's like, yeah, well,
but
Apple.
Honestly, like, the quality, like, they're running like a couple-year-old CPU and like a pretty decent screen. Like, it's not the most up to date.
You're talking for Android or
no, for iOS?
Oh, okay.
It still blows like every single Android tablet out the water. Mm-hmm. Like, it's for their price point, and I think it's because of economies at scale. Mm-hmm. So no, you're not really getting that many good options that are cheaper, actually.
So
Samsung tablets, a lot of these new ones that are like comparable, are still like dang near twice the price.
I guess the other thing is too, one thing that you're bringing up, which is interesting to me, and this is where my brain went, because technically iPads are tablets, but even when you're saying that, I wasn't even thinking that. When I think of tablets, I think of Android tablets. I think of iPads by themselves. So, for example, if this person had asked me, "Hey, are iPads still popular? Are they still worth it?" Like, I'd be like, "Yeah, there's definitely an audience for them." When you're saying tablets, I instantly think of kind of a cheaper mid-range Android tablet, and to that I'm like, no, not really.
No, and those are pretty much dead. Samsung still makes some, but they're
the
not.
marketing worked real well on that, is what I'm saying. It worked on me because I separate iPads from tablets in my brain.
Mm-hmm. But I would say right now, if you are going to get a tablet, the iPad is the only like logical solution, unless you have like an extremely pinpointed like use case.
Sure.
Where the Surface might work better. But if you're trying to be like a creative and use the Surface Pen to like make art, get a freaking iPad that has the Apple Pencil support, because it's going to be lighter weight. It's going to be probably better hardware for what you're using it for, and you're going to have way better first-class citizen applications. You're not going to get something retrofitted. People are building stuff still for the iPad. I even saw a video of like a YouTube creator, Jonathan from TLD Today. I don't know if that's still his YouTube channel, but he does tech stuff, and he actually demoed how he like edited an entire professional like YouTube video on the iPad Pro.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right. And he was like constantly, he's like, would this replace my main workflow? No. But I am blown away at like how much I can do with this and how easily I can do with it. And it brought some new paradigms with.
Cool. Yeah. No, we're good. I think we had like a slight disconnect there, but we good.
Hopefully everyone heard us.
Yeah. It should be there.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think tablets are in a weird zone right now, and I think overall iPads are dominating.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We want to take like one or two questions and then finish it up. Yeah, let's see what else is here. Are you seeing anything that you want to grab? Here's one, I guess. Do you guys think it's crazy to have Android on Vita?
Like,
I think it'd be a cool proof of concept, but like for use, yeah, I think it'd be a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's not like with the Switch. It's like, yeah, that's tablet thing. That makes sense. But with the Vita,
what would you do with it? I don't even want.
I guess that's what I'm confused with as well too.
So, I don't really care about Android on the Switch.
Okay.
Ubuntu or like a full-fledged operating system makes more sense to me because Android's in like a weird middle land where you're not getting any real benefits, right? To like running on the Switch. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do? Run other apps or what? Like, I don't know. I guess you could still run like Discord or something if you wanted, like, you know what I mean? Like a little Discord screen, or you could run YouTube. But I feel like you're going to get so much more benefit out of running like a separate OS.
Right on. We do have one donation here near the end. Katsu Kyojin, I believe that's how you say it. I don't know, man. I don't know. Apparently I've been saying his name wrong. But he's saying with a $5 donation, thank you for that. Hey guys, came to drop by for my monthly donate. Do either of you play MMOs, and can you suggest Final Fantasy 14? So, I play ESO some, but still uncertain.
Just a heads up, we did shout you out earlier, thanking you for your generosity.
Yes, we did.
So we really appreciate you coming back. This was not an expectation, and he didn't even hear us. So hopefully you didn't have any like.
I think he'll probably listen to the video on demand.
Yeah.
So.
But we do appreciate you, man. So it's good to see you in the chat. I do not play MMOs. I actually was.
I don't either.
I never could really. I know you're a first person or single player person.
Big single player person. Hell yeah.
I always kind of like, I don't know. There was like, I tried to get into some MMOs, but like World of Warcraft never did it for me. I felt like it was
I've never played World of Warcraft. I have never played it, and I'm so proud of that.
I thought it was way too monotonous. I just couldn't get into it. And on top of that, like, I don't know. Like, I'd get to a point where if I started like getting into something, like I played with my brother for a little while, I played with a couple of friends, and then I do a thing where I just take time off. I don't want to have a video game be something I've dedicated to. Like, you know, I don't know. Like, it's just, you know, I'd rather do a board game if we're going to get together and play games or something like that. Or something
board
like
games
that.
Are awesome, man.
Something I don't have to keep up with. Like, as soon as something like that becomes a chore for me, it's out. Because I can not play a game for a month and be fine. You know what I mean? But I will love to come back and finish it. It's just how I don't know. It's how I do things.
Yeah, I can say from other people who have played a bunch of MMOs, it seems like Final Fantasy 14 is that really awesome middle ground between getting awesome support, getting into something casually, but also you can go hard at it if you want to. So from other people, I've heard Final Fantasy 14 is a fantastic MMO. Firsthand, neither of us can say anything about it, though, because we're not MMO people, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard... Interesting. I think I actually heard it on a podcast recently where like they were talking about how the launch was really, really poor, and then they kind of like
they completely rebooted and saved it. Yeah,
and I guess they even like in the game storyline itself, it had like some plot twist about the world being like recreated or reborn, something like that. And I was like,
because one of my friends, shout out Charlie, he lived through that whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. If they're gonna do something like that, twist it into the world. All right. Got another donation here.
You can grab this one.
Sure. Tag Media for $10, trying to pay us to do math here. 2 trains will collide. Train 1 leaves town A at 5 a.m. at 60 miles per hour. Train 2 exits town B at 7 a.m. traveling 70 miles an hour. The distance between the two towns is 455 miles. When will that collision occur? You can't pay me to do math.
I mean, I was going to say I'm not doing math on here, man. I got my degree 4 years ago at this point, okay? I'm not trying to go back.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but he at least says this is a joke donation. Enjoy the cash, and thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I actually don't know if I've ever solved a math problem like this. I'm sure if I like sat down
I have before, like in high school, I did that. In college, I never had to, but in high school, I did.
I'm sure I could like break it down if I needed to, but I'm not gonna bust out the pen and paper right now.
Yeah, I say though, because we did grab one question, and then we got 2 donations. Let's grab one more like non-donation question.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Do you see any that you're wanting to grab? I do want to say this isn't a question, but a shout out here. That one Martini is saying, I should mention I'm currently watching ModChat on my Switch via L4T Linux. Add to the presentation of the whole thing. That's cool. Awesome. So YouTube is like, YouTube is usable on that. Did we just get another donation? I didn't even read that one yet.
So I'm going to go through a couple things here. Katsu Kyojin, however you say that.
I think it's
Kyojin. One more question for me. New video when? Do you have to challenge me again? I don't know. I will say, so like a couple months ago, I ended up moving in with my girlfriend, which she's not like a blocker for me making videos, but that added on to just everything else in life, different things. Everything has been moving very quickly, and yeah, I mean, I would like to round off a couple more videos for a couple of things. But I don't know. I don't have a set time. I've been just kind of like, after the last year, I kind of just took the load off, said I'm going to like roll with this and get to it when I can. I don't even have a good filming area set up. No. So I don't know.
No, Devin, no, you did make a video.
I guess so. I have. It's not the ones that you're expecting, but yeah. It was, I guess, I don't know.
He made a video for me. He made a video. It was a good video, by the way, but he made a video. He sent it for me. It's going to be used here very soon.
Yeah. So
yeah, you all will see it. Don't worry,
But yeah, it's just been one of those things that like I have not had any free time. I've been focusing a lot more on coding recently, but I don't know. I'd like to at least make a couple videos to kind of round off. I would like to talk about my iPhone experience since I was a long-term Android user, and I kind of like teased that a bit. I'd love to round that off, but YouTube is not going to be some primary hobby of mine, I don't think, ever. In fact, I've thought about this a lot. I think more what I would like to get into is like, if I am going to be releasing content, I would like for it to be maybe more of a blog format.
Okay.
Cool. Distribute my knowledge that way. Just, I've learned, it was a fun time, but YouTube videos just are not my thing. It takes too much time, and I find that I get much more value out of investing my time elsewhere, and time is not something that I have in excess of.
I understand.
So I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. I think it's awesome that someone wants to see my videos, but that's how it is.
You'll see him here on the channel very soon.
And to round off that, because he asked one more question shortly after. One more question. Earlier I made a joke. Nicholas is asking. Yeah, I mixed up names here. So Nicholas asked, earlier I made a joke in camel case. What is your personal case preference? I guess it depends. I mean, yeah, camel case over snake case. If we're talking about like variable names or something like that, Python developers usually use snake case on that. I find it's a waste of characters. So compress it, it's fine. I like camel case, so I guess that would be my answer.
Cool. We do have another donation from X41. God damn.
And now you get the ETA win.
I guess, yeah. So for €5 here, ETA win that PS3 video. I don't have a date on it. I have the video done. Like, it's done, it's rendered, it's good to go. I just don't have an ETA on it, but this summer it will go out. So I have an interesting PS3 video, and I hope the PS3 that got to you very well. So, yeah.
Did you know that the DVD logo app is also on the Vita?
Let's grab that one. That'll be the last question we answer. I'm starting to get a little hungry, and we should wrap this up here. I did not know that it was on the Vita, but that makes me smile.
I'm not too surprised. Even if it was like a different implementation, that was fun.
Did you know you could also speed this up?
Dude, I didn't even realize you had that going.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's been going this whole time.
Nice. Very, very good. Okay. Try to find any last things. I don't really see a whole lot.
I mean, that's it. Let's wrap up there, I say.
Wrap it up, Dan.
Wrap it up, Dan. Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching and listening and tuning in, everyone, whether you tuned into this live or you're listening to the MP3 or you're watching the video after it's been recorded and broadcast live on YouTube. It's absolutely appreciated. I guess, Devin, where can people find you online if they're wanting to link up with you?
If I ever eventually make another YouTube video, on my channel at least, there's a channel out there, Paranoid Coder.
I'll have it linked down below in the description of this.
Feel free to go. I'm still trying to keep up. I know I have actually a couple of comments I need to get to. But I try and keep up on the comments on my older videos. So if something like that interests you, I'll try and get back to you guys. Love having discussions on some of that stuff. Then also you can find me on Twitter, same handle, Paranoid Coder. That's where I'm definitely most active. You can tweet at me. Get me in some discussions, get my opinions, outside of the podcast, and I'll be happy to do so.
Hell yeah.
How about you, man?
I'm pretty much all over the place, primarily YouTube, Mr. Mario 2011, of course, ModChat podcast on most major podcasting platforms. I also have a solo or sometimes guest podcast, which is Mario's Minute. That's also available on YouTube and most major podcasting platforms. This episode was really fun. I actually recorded it last night with a friend of mine. That was a really fun episode, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you're wanting something a little more personal and not directly related to modding or anything else of this stuff, just something completely random. I'm most active, like when it comes to social media, definitely active on Twitter, I would say, but I'm also on Instagram and pretty much Mr. Mario 2011 on everywhere else. We also have a Discord server as well too, which I recommend people join in. We have a really awesome community, and it's pretty tight knit. It's a real fun time to just like hang out in there and either lurk or chat with people. Unfortunately, I'm really not in the voice chat like ever, but we have a lot of fun time with if people are just read the rules, god damn it, just read the rules. But as long as we read the rules, we'll get along just fine. I'll say that. But even if people are needing support, we end up like creating a support thread in there as well too. Channel, that's it. So people have been joining in for some help on stuff as well, which works out pretty well. It seems to have gone over pretty successful. Yeah, so if you want to join the community, feel free to do that. So Discord's another big one, which I need to get better with promoting, but that's going to be down below in the description of this stream or video on YouTube, and that's really about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, overall, this has been a fun episode.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I need to pee.
He does.
I do. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching and listening, everyone, and until next time.
Signing off.